Hi, it's Wednesday, it's 3 o'clock. Welcome to Together Unlocked, brought to you as always by Together 2012 CIC. I'm just going to have a drink and hand straight over to the other end of our long wheeled virtual sofa in the West Midlands for some introduction and audio description.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Wednesday's Together Unlocked broadcast. So, I am Robin Surgeoner. I am the business director of Together 2012. And as Ju said, we are up here in the West Midlands studio. So, what do I look like today? Well, first of all, I'm sat in front of lovely, rich velvet curtains at our studio backdrop. I have despite having had haircuts earlier in gaps between lockdowns, my hair is starting to look rather disheveled and white. I have no rimmed black arm glasses in front of blue eyes. I'm beautifully shaven today, and I say that myself, obviously. And I am wearing a round neck T-shirt with a very sort of stylized picture of kind of the Californian hills, the hills behind LA, which you'd think of having the Hollywood sign. It's lots and lots of colors, but it says in big letters, Los Angeles, California, enjoy.
Hi, I'm Josh Surgeoner, one of the other hosts of Together Unlocked, and I'm a PhD student as well. I have long blonde hair. I'm beautifully unshaven. And today I'm wearing a very, very white jacket that on the right hand side, I'm doing it on my left and right, honestly. On the right hand side, it has the logo for the Rugby World Cup. And then on the left hand side, it has the English Rugby Rose and then the logo of the company that made it. I will apologise. I have a slight spot of hiccups because it's tight timescales and I just inhaled my lunch. So if you see me jumping about, it's because I've got hiccups that I'm trying not to do on air. So I apologise for that.
Yes, well, it's Wednesday. I think that explains everything. As I said before, I'm Ju Gosling, also known as Ju 90. I'm an artist and the artistic director of Together 2012. I've got tenured hair in a self styled work in progress, always Corona crop. I've got pale olive skin, green eyes behind black plastic glasses, silver coloured jewellery. I've got a rainbow patterned watch strap. And today I'm wearing a black mohair jumper with pink triangles knitted into it and white triangles dotted around as well, and a couple of white lines. I was trying to work it out, but I think I have had this sweater over 35 years. That's because it hardly ever snows in London. So I've got a whole drawer full of sweaters that don't come out very often. But today, outside, we have the beast from the east. As a result, I'm delighted to say that coming up as usual after 3:30 we have our Clockwork Paralympics, and this week the Winter Paralimpians have returned from their Christmas special to be racing. So we have racing snowmen coming up later. We've also got a virtual snowy walk courtesy of Merlot, the assistant's dog, who went out earlier this morning and has sent a lovely film. That's coming up around 3:30. Before that, we have poems from the Pop Up Poetry Club, and after that, we'll be talking about sport and gaming. But also, of course, I have to audio describe, and don't worry, I'm getting to the boss. Behind us, we have rainbow flags. That's because we're celebrating LGBT plus History Month. We're also going to be talking about what's available online tonight and tomorrow. And last but no means least, we have a little black teddy bear who I will introduce properly later. And if successful, they will be a medal bearer for the Clockwork Paralympics. So, last but by no means least, our chair, the artist Julie Newman, has been locked down with me here since last March for the purposes of carrying on with work. Who are you? What do you look like?
Before I start, you've got a labris round your neck. It's a lesbian symbol, a double axe.
Thank you,
And
Julie.
I'd forgotten the name last week, so I looked it up, especially for the show. It's a Labrise,
So it's silver-coloured jewellery.
silver
Anyway.
coloured jewellery. Yes. I'm Julie Newman. I'm the chair, as you introduced me already. I have hair currently curled over my collar in a sort of length. It's silver and gold, and today I'm wearing. What is this? There's a name for this colour, Ju? Is it
Grey marl?
marl? Yes, it's a marl. I'm wearing a marl t-shirt, and over it, on account of the weather and also the month, I'm wearing a checked shirt, which is blue and white and yellow, and the light is sort of washing it out, so it looks a little bit greyish, but it is in fact blue. Around my neck, I have two wolves howling at the moon, which is sometimes how we all feel, I think. And I have a two-headed torque, which is a bracelet on my wrist, which you might see glimpses of um, shimmering in the light.
And I think they might be wolves as well. I should say it's a lumberjack shirt. And for those of you who don't know, this is always associated with a certain kind of lesbian. But more of that later. And also apologies for the light in here. We don't know what's happening, but the cameras just don't seem to be able to cope with rainbows, which I think is actually rather lovely. So this week is, I believe, Sign to Sing, if I've got the name correct. Sign to Sing Week. We didn't know about this on Monday, but now we do. So we are very excited about Sign to Sing Week. It's a fundraiser for Sign Health, which is a fantastic organisation led by deaf people, which does all sorts of different work. We're going to put a link up on our highlights and links page that you can find on our website, www.together2012.org.uk. Under the main Together Unlocked TV page, there's a pull down menu, and the first thing you see is highlights and links. So everything we talk about and all of the links you need will be up there probably from about 5 o'clock. So we'll put a link up both to this project website and to the main Sign Health website. The project website is great. It's aimed at schools, community groups, and any other group who wants to join in. There's a whole selection of songs you can choose, and then there's a whole bunch of videos to accompany them to teach you the signs and teach you the songs. And the idea is at the end of the week or over the weekend, people do their performances. So there's actually going to be lots of performances streamed as well. Inevitably, we have chosen a song called Together. So I have challenged my co hosts. Well, I've challenged Robin, and the rest have just been swept along. On Friday, when we always finish with some live music, Robin is going to attempt to play Together, and we are going to attempt to sign along. We would love you to join in from home, so we're going to put that link up. It's a really great way of learning some basic signs in a kind of fun, artistic, creative, and also sociable way, because you're connecting with people all over the UK. You were saying, Robin, you used to sign, but your signing is very poor. But I think you're going to get away with playing the guitar.
I was going to say that just occurred to me. If I'm playing the guitar, then I can't do sign language at the same time. I mean, and it is something that, just like any language, even though I think I would describe it as holiday sign language in the same way as you learn holiday French and holiday Italian. I did a lot of work kind of in the 90s working with a deaf people's organization called Breakthrough in Birmingham, and was using it all of the time. And so just got kind of conversationally comfortable with it. But now, I mean, I do remember stuff, and I can still finger spell, which sometimes, even if you know nothing more than the alphabet, then if you can get that across, if you really need to tell somebody a word, and the only way you can do it is to finger spell it, it's still a really useful tool.
So I'm just looking. We've got a contribution on the live chat, which you can get to by clicking on the stream if you're watching it on the website and going to YouTube. So Blake Jarrett Gibbons says another similar charity group that works with BSL and is also part of the project is Sign Along With Us. So we'll check that one out as well. Thank you, Blake. Julie, if you're in a busy meeting, you often use sign supported English to access the meeting, don't you? So are you somebody who uses sign but doesn't necessarily sign yourself?
Yes, mostly it's SSE isn't BSL, so SSE, sign supported English, it has got different hand gestures as part of the language. I can't hear terribly well at all, actually, with background noise. So being in a meeting where the acoustics are rubbish or where people are talking in the background, it becomes very well impossible for me to follow. And over the years, various British Sign Language interpreters have been generous enough to use SSE for me, and others also who use sign supported English to help to sort of keep up with what's going on. I think especially if you're leading, if because I very often was talking or chairing, large groups of people, and it's so helpful to have somebody to act as an interpreter.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to echo what Robin says. Anybody can learn to fingerspell, and sometimes in a crisis, fingerspelling can just be incredibly helpful. It isn't specifically British Sign Language, or at least it probably is, but it doesn't say that because, of course, like you said, there's lots of different sign using communities. One of our regular presenters, Stara Plurger, her assistant's dog Merlot, is going to take us for a virtual snowy walk a bit later. And Stara uses simple sign, so all of the videos she makes for us are in simple sign. And of course, locally, people have dialects. So the Newham Sign dialect is very much based on some British Sign Language, some International Sign Language, some American Sign Language, some French Sign Language, because a lot of the people using sign in Newham are African. And it's a really, really interesting kind of language again. So, all in all, I just feel it's a great opportunity. And very soon, we will have our very own British Sign Language using presenter back, Sahira Khan. We had some great poetry, we had different activities, and we had performances by Sahira last year. So she's just up the road from us in the next borough. She comes from Newham, and we'll be very pleased to have Sahira back very soon. It's also National Apprenticeship Week and National Student Volunteering Week. So I'm going to pick on Josh as our resident student and say, student volunteers, what do they do? Do they volunteer in the community? Do they volunteer within universities and colleges?
Um, the honest answer is I don't know. I know that there is lots of student volunteering that goes on generally in various different things. There's also a lot of kind of
Yeah,
student placement stuff that goes on that I think might get mixed into it. But certainly, I know that at least within the last year, lots of students have been volunteering um, with kind of delivering prescriptions and things like that in the big kind of I've forgotten what the name was, that big kind of call to arms assistance um, that they did last year. But then also because of the work that I do at uni, I've got lots of friends that are on kind of medical degrees. So actually, a lot of them have been volunteering in kind of hospitals and testing centres and now vaccination centres. Some as part of their degree, but lots of them that are kind of on medically adjacent courses that aren't kind of doctors got roped in purely because they needed workforce. Um,
and I was just going to add to that. I mean, from someone who has worked for organisations that have used student volunteering weeks, it's much more about like you, the local uni will put it on, and then lots of voluntary third sector organisations and places. I mean, obviously the NHS isn't a third sector organisation, but and other organizations will go and have a stand there, and then they'll talk about um, the opportunities they've got, opportunities they need filled, but very much about making it a kind of a relationship process. So, a good volunteering week uh, opportunity will not be just somebody needs something done and they need someone to do it. It is much more about creating a relationship where the volunteer can come in. It adds to their CV. They learn particular skills. They are mentored and managed. So it becomes, it's a progressive progress. So it helps the student, but also, but at the same time, helps the organisation. And it can be things as, from the local scout group needing. Uh, Leaders that have come from home and have got those skills but not using them, to people like Médecins Sans Frontières. I remember them being at Birmingham, which is Medicine Without Frontiers, sending medical staff to war-torn places, and that's kind of very brave volunteering.
Yeah, that sounds really helpful. And of course, well, I think one of the things that is always important to do is highlight just how much young people are contributing at the moment, because it's very convenient for everybody just to give them lots of bad publicity. But actually, young people are not only on the front line of so many jobs, they're also on the front line volunteering, like you said. What we'll do for anybody stuck at home with their parents thinking, I'm never going to get out of here, is we'll see where the connections are for Student Volunteering Week for online volunteering, and we're going to pop those up on highlights and links. It's really time to move on to poetry, but I just wanted to say one thing about National Apprenticeship Week, which is bring back the funding for creative apprenticeships. When we set up Together 2012, there was full grant funding available for arts organisations to take on apprentices. And that really recognised the fact that if you're on a really tight budget, and particularly if you're on a grant funded budget, you cannot afford to pay apprenticeships, but you have huge amounts to offer and huge amounts you can give in terms of time, which is also absolutely money. And that scheme was abolished about 5 years ago, and it's really, really impacted on young people's opportunities to go into the arts. If you're middle class and your parents have got friends in the arts, then you can afford to live at home and go and do some unpaid work experience. But those apprenticeships are really, really critical. And not just instead of a degree, sometimes they can very much be something that you also do post degree. And I guess the other thing, not that anybody, I dare say, in the government is listening, but they announced a scheme last summer called Kickstart. And we are still waiting to take 2 young people onto the Kickstart program and train them to deliver their own live streams, events, and performances. Has anybody seen the missing multi-million-pound Kickstart scheme? Please send it our way. But now, Julie, what happened with the Pop-Up Poetry Club this morning? And do you want to tell us just a little bit about it at the beginning too?
Oh, the Pop-Up Poetry Group meets, well, it's a club. It meets on a Wednesday morning. It's one of Together's regular features. The Poetry Club, as it is particularly geared to people who don't have internet access. So it's phone based. We pick up the charges for the calls. Noel, who is our support worker. We've got a new worker on the apprentice scheme, Ju. You haven't met him yet. He's called Neil. He's a lovely lad. But no, Noel, who's our support worker, facilitates the calls. And what happens is everybody's ready to rock and roll at 10:30. We have half an hour in the first half hour of reading out poems either that we've written ourselves or we've picked because we like the topic and it fits what's happening that week. We have a break then of half an hour and come back for 11:30 with poems that we've written ourselves ideally, or if we haven't been able to do that, then we read out poems that we've selected if possible.
And you have a theme, don't you?
Yes, it's led, the weekly sessions, weekly clubs are led by Alison Marchant, the international artist. And she chooses a theme. The theme for this week was dance or dancing. I also, in my mind, added movement, but yeah.
And for anybody who wants to join in from home, goodness, it is Wednesday, isn't it? What's the theme for next week?
A February morning, I had to choose something on the hop because I hadn't expected to. So it's sort of, oh, it's February, it's morning time, the sun's shining, how lovely, let's use that. And
'Cause-
everybody thought that was
Yeah,
good.
because you were covering today, weren't you? And we
Yeah.
all wanted to say to Alison's mum, get well soon.
Yes.
So we've got poems to read out. People are still not sending us videos, but we would love to see them. But we're quite happy, if necessary, to read your poems for us. And I'm actually going to jump in because I've got one in my hand and it's also very short. And this is Dawn Barber, and it's called Dancing. And Dawn is one of the people who can't join in on the Zoom clubs because she doesn't have internet access, so can't come to dance club on Zoom. So this is dancing. Dancing is so magical. It fills my heart with magic and with joy. I do miss my dancing very much. When I can, I try to do some indoors with some music. I hope one day we will be dancing again. But until then, I won't give up on it because it is magical to my heart. Thank you, Dawn. I really miss you as well as somebody who can't make voice calls. Julie, do you want to move on to one of yours? And then we'll have one from the West Midlands.
Yes, let's do mine. It's on this piece of paper, which I'm flinging all over the place. It's called The Silent Dancer. She creeps in slowly, pausing in her stride, inching forward, quietly building a rhythm, gentle movements forward, then turns to glide to her left, a full turn, lands and offs to the side. The shine of the moon, filtered with a subtle light, lit her graceful passage in the lonely dance. She lifts herself, pauses, and raised to her full height, leaps into the air, graceful as a bird in flight. Then back to earth, quickly turns, and still in full flow, she jumps again and lands on all four paws. No sound has been made, none to see her balletic show. Still now she sits, her dancer's gone, no one will know.
Thank you. And I think, judging by the cats dancing around outside this little bit of studio, there's probably going to be one join in soon. Josh, do you have one for us?
Yes, I have the poem from Blake Jarrett Givens, and this is called Infected with a Dance. Right. Sorry, distracted by clicking. Sorry, this is Blake's poem. You might want to evacuate now. I'm infected with the music and motion, feeling so warm inside, a natural delight, dancing day or night. If you dare dance with me, don't blame me. You know that it's toxic. I get a feeling, and all can do is dance, dance, dance. A moonwalk, a shuffle, a slide to the left with a jump, or the right, a crisscross, a flow, a motion. Jump around, jump up, and then get down. Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move, we're in the groove, and the beat goes on. Love everlasting, the beat goes on. Steal the night, kill the lights, feel it under your skin. The time is right, 'cause it's pulling you in. Close your eyes, let the rhythm get into you. Don't try to fight it. Relax your mind, let you feel it inside. Lay back and feel a groove, feel that beat and share that beat of love. Feel the rhythm, check the rhyme, come on time to have a good time. One more dance after this party, we're still going strong. Beat so fast we like a Ferrari, we get wild like a safari. Feel so warm and light inside, it's a natural delight, dancing in the moonlight. Steal the night, kill the light, feel it under your skin. Time is right, 'cause it's pulling you in. Ha! Saw you move there. That dance. Now you believe me. You know that it's toxic. Go on. Dance, dance, dance. Come on. Feel that beat. Check for the rhythm. Feel it under your skin. Time is right, all pulling you in. Dance with me and move with me. Feel so warm inside, and now we are dancing, day or night. Dancing infection rate unknown. All that is known. Oh my, it's toxic.
That was great, Blake. And I think you may still be watching. I think it's really interesting always to hear other people read your words, but it's also nice to hear them from the poet's mouth. So do think about recording one at some point. This is Crystal Peasy, Dancing and Rhythms. You can do many rhythms, and you can even use musical instruments. Rhythm can be many movements, it can be exercise, and it can be walks out. You can become very sweaty and hot, like someone who goes to the gym. I don't need to go to the gym, I can do it at home. I don't go anywhere. And when I want to do exercise, my carer helps me at home. I can rock back and forward in my wheelchair. And thanks for that, Crystal, who is a member of Folk in Motion, which is our associate wheelchair dance company. We all used to dance every 2 weeks together, and we haven't danced since, well, for 12 months now. But I like the idea that even if we're sitting at home, rocking in our wheelchairs, we can still keep, as Blake says, that kind of infectious dancing spirit up. So finally, Julie, well, no, I think we'll come back to Pisers because I think Robin has got one first from Tony Malone.
I have, and if you've not eaten yet, you're going to not like this poem. It's called A Morning Dance. The sausages pivot in the dance of the skillet, while the bacon sizzled like a pressed rivet. The egg sat fried in a dance like fidget. The toast leapt up like high-fiving digits, and the mushrooms huddled around on a trivet. Breakfast is ready. Let's all hurry down. When to breakfast we go, there is never a frown. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. And Tony Maloney is also a member of our community advisory board and designed our original logo. So all those little faces are courtesy of Tony, for which we say thank you once more. So we also have just finally a poem from Pizer Malik, which is not on the subject of dance, but it's on the subject of being positive. Pizer fell out of her wheelchair in November and broke her neck. So I kind of feel, Pizer, if you're still able to be positive, that really puts the rest of us under notice. Julie.
Yes, I mean, just very quickly before I read it, we had 3 members of Folk in Motion this morning in the poetry group, and Pies one of them. And Pizer, Crystal, and myself all agreed that having the memory of doing those exercises, the practices, the weekly sessions, and the shows is something that lives very, very strongly for us all. So we carry it with us.
Yeah, I think I am going to have to think of a way that we can not dance on Zoom in our wheelchairs, but still do something practical. And of course, we still have hopes that the surgeon family are going to do some dancing for us because they are literally, we need at least 4 people to make up a Folk in Motion team. And they're the only 4 wheelchair users we know that are living together. So we still keep going, wouldn't you like to do wheelchair folk dance? And yeah, so far as you can tell, we've just not managed to convince Josh, but we'll keep at it. You know, think of Crystal rocking backwards and forwards at home in her wheelchair, and Pizer with her broken neck, just desperate to see you dance. It is toxic. You just wouldn't believe it. We were, in fact, due to be taking Folk in Motion to dance for the Paralympic flame handover ceremony, but I understand the Japanese have now cancelled the torch ceremonies across Japan. So I'm not sure even if we could do it, whether that will be still taking place. We might come back to that in sport. But anyway, Julie, go for it.
Indeed, this is Pizer Malik's Be Positive. From January to January, the months have passed unhappily, but one thing I learned is not to hurry. I've learnt to slow down and accept that everything is shut, restricted, and half closed. I just stay at home and watch the news, how to be safe and listen to the medical views. Always wash our hands and use the sanitizer. Put on the mask and keep warm with blazer. Before sleeping, gargle with warm salt water. Always drink warm and hot tea. Lockdown is good for me as it helps me to be easy, relax, and accept the way of Corona message. Personally, I feel benefited and happy my house is much cleaner and tidy. My phone bill is within the limits. I spend less on my credit limits. I get closer to my loved ones, have a closer understanding of what she wants because we are 24 hours together. My relationship gets better, our bond gets stronger.
Oh, thank you, Pizer. That could have been written about us, couldn't it?
Oh, yes.
Apart from possibly the credit limit, because it's amazing what you can get delivered. So it's exactly 3:30. We're going to move on and take a snowy virtual walk in Norfolk with Steroplogia's assistant's dog Merlot. There's no captions on this, but Julie is going to do some audio description.
And here we are. We've started off. Oh my goodness, there's lots of snow, deep snow, and little candy cane things to the right. We're looking through a camera, looking at the head of Stera's assistant's dog Merlot, who's a black lab, and we're looking at a lot of trees, bare trees with snow on the branches. The snow all around us is about, I would have thought, about 3 or 4 inches deep. Merlot's paused and is just looking. No doubt there's a lot of smells, and he's gone to check his people. Yes, they're there, so off he trots again, very bravely and determinedly through the snow to a tree which has got a wooden bench all the way around it. And my goodness, it has a lot of snow on the seat, a very lot of snow. And he's pausing again, his little ears are up, he's listening and looking and sniffing. Just checking again, where's his people? Here they are. Yes, feet of people. That's exactly what he needed to see. And their feet, actually, their shoes are full of snow, I have to say. Now, Merlot trots on at pace, actually. He's going quite fast and he's heading towards a gate that I can see in the horizon, but his people just aren't keeping up with him. It's the difficulty of having 2 legs as opposed to 4. So he pauses and looks around. His ears are up. His head is down again as he walks on more slowly this time. There's lots of paw marks already in the snow. They're always picking up speed. He's at a gallop. He's certainly moving very fast. This is a very enthusiastic young dog. And he's paused. He has to wait for his people to catch up. He's had a bit of a shake as his people come up. And he's walking towards the sunshine. The sky is quite wiped out, but there's still bits of blue in it, and the sun is shining, and it's casting shadows on the snow from the trees with the snow in it, and branches of bushes that are empty of leaves. He's stopped completely, and I think this is the end of his snow story.
Yeah, that looked absolutely lovely. So that video without the audio description will be up on our highlights and links page if you'd like to join it. Enjoy it again, and like me, try to imagine you're in Norfolk and not in Newham. So now we move on, and it's time for this week's Clockwork Paralympics. In the Clockwork Paralympics, we race toys for the right of either London 2012 or Birmingham 2022 to be a medal bearer for the week. Do you want to introduce this week's potential medal bearer?
Indeed. I mean, we have reverted to our alternative cuddly toy collection. And to go with Merlot's snowy dog story, this is Whiskers. I'm gonna have to go through all of these now because I never realised that they all have their own birthday. So it's a bit early because Whiskers' birthday is March the 13th. But so yeah, Whiskers will be doing our part today, and we'll be So we've got it out now. It will be the one you release from your left hand, which will be on the right side of the screen as we are watching.
Righty ho. And our competitor, could you hold his feet up, Julie? Because he has a little do it yourself, Ju. So his teddy bear foot has a Canadian maple leaf embroidered onto one paw. And he comes from one of our trips over to Canada to work with Concordia University. Now, on our Join In From Home program on our website, all these teddy bears are so distracting, but we have one of the activities we have under Join In with Music Club is build your own vibrating sound device. Currently, that Canadian website is offline, but I am promised they are working on it. They have re registered the domain name and it should be back up next week. So, our teddy bear, who does he have a name, Julie? What's the Canadian name?
Yeah.
So Pierre, which I think is fair enough because we were in a French speaking, we were in Quebec, Montreal. So Pierre is Pierre is also legitimately taking part in the virtual bear hunt, which is something that is quite often slightly confusing here because we get non-teddy bears taking part. The virtual bear hunt has been going on almost a year now. It's for children in lockdown to be able to spot teddy bears either on TV and on live streams and or in windows. So if you've got a teddy bear and it fancies looking out of the window, stick it in the window out the front. You might make some child very happy when they're doing what is quite boring and dull exercise. But in the meantime, without further ado, let's get the Clockwork Paralimpics up and Josh can do some audio description.
So we are once again in our combat arena of Ju's Landing with our two snowmen. And I believe we'll be underway momentarily. And we are away. It appears to be quite a close contest so far. Both competitors seem to be level on speed and are now angling for a hug. I think this is.
Oh, victory!
We finally won. It's only been since about October. I think we have finally won a Clockwork Paralympics.
So here we go. I have decorated whiskers with an appropriately heavy gold medal. Congratulations. And well done, London. Oh, you're muted.
You're still muted, I believe.
Yeah, it's the shock. Yes, as Julie's often pointed out, I have a house full of teddy bears, and you have a house full of medals. We have one gold plastic one. But I think we probably get equal enjoyment out of seeing Paralympic athletes getting more and more agitated as they watch the progress of racing clockwork toys, which is another reason I think to talk next about sport and gaming with Josh Surgener.
Yeah, so we'll do sport first. Why not? So the first thing in sport, there's actually some parasport going on at the moment. Surprisingly, it's the rearranged 12th FASA International Athletics Championships, which is an event that's put on every year. It's the 12th one, funnily enough. But it's run by I'm going to get the name right, the Dubai Club for People of Determination, I think is what they're officially called. I think it might have gone through a name change. But they run kind of international parasport competitions in athletics, basketball, and a few other kind of sports throughout the year, and yeah, have done for quite a while. And these are kind of full. This will be an opportunity for people that are kind of preparing for kind of Tokyo trials and things like that. It's not a kind of local tournament. It's full kind of international like honors. But it's just great to see that it's actually going ahead. There's an opportunity for para athletes to kind of compete. I don't think there's a huge kind of athlete pool at this year's one with so much travel being restricted. But it's just nice to see nice to see some sport going more
And
than
where can
anything
people
else.
watch that? Is it on
Uh,
YouTube,
yeah,
website?
it's live streamed on YouTube on the Dubai Club, um, their own YouTube channel. I think it used to be called the Dubai Club for Disabled Sport. I think it's gone through a bit of a kind of rebranding because I think they've only got a few videos on there now. So I think they've kind of revamped it all and kind of started again. But yeah, that's all on YouTube, entirely free. So that's if you want to watch that, then that's something you
Excellent.
can.
And is there any information about what the athletes had to do in terms of quarantine or traveling or?
I haven't seen the only information that I saw of that side of it was from the original like documentation for last year's one that was due to take place in March, which obviously didn't happen. So I haven't seen any updated stuff on that. So I don't know.
And I mean, not that we know, but I would imagine there's going to be some observers there from Japan just to sort of see how things work in practice.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I would imagine so. I mean, if there's one thing that Dubai can do, um, it's put money into an event, and that is kind of part of it. I mean, no less whether they competed in the wheelchair basketball. It's quite funny to watch that it's in this kind of lovely sports hall and great facilities and everything. But then you've got kind of like the crown prince on like a huge leather settee in a kind of roped off velvet area that's kind of center court. So that's a good seat. So it's quite, but apparently, speaking to people that have competed there, it's a great tournament. It's always a really good show, and the facilities and everything's really well done and put together. So yeah, I imagine there will be some kind of interested Tokyo parties being like, oh, gonna.
We should try and find out more about any Brits that have gone because, of course, so often, as with Robin, they're not just athletes, but also artists, which, of course, from my perspective, is more interesting. But I should hush my mouth before I dig the hole any deeper. What else is on, Josh?
I mean, the Six Nations started last weekend, which was sad for me because England lost. But with Scottish heritage, I can still claim that I won, so it's all good.
Yeah.
It's not it's a loose claim to still winning, but there we go. Actually, the other thing that I was going to talk about, and it kind of links in between sport and gaming, actually, is Diego Jota, who plays for Liverpool. He's a Premier League football player. In the first lockdown, the Premier League put together a tournament on FIFA, which is the football game. And kind of each Premier League team put one player forward to represent them, and he won that tournament. But then I guess he's had some free time, I think, recently, and he's been playing some tournaments and kind of ranked tournaments. And he's now ranked #1 in the world at FIFA. So it's nice to know. I guess those skills carry over. That he's a Premier League footballer, and he's currently ranked #1 in the world at the computer game of football. And I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I think it really says something good about the computer game, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some quite fraught rivalries in that tournament. I know a lot of athletes play video games, because you get a lot of free time, especially professional athletes that it is their job. You get a lot of downtime in between training, so something like gaming is something you can just kind of jump on the settee for a couple of hours and do. So I know it is a popular thing amongst athletes. But yeah, I just thought it was really funny that the current best FIFA player is an actual professional footballer. Just made me giggle.
Yeah, and it's made me laugh as well. But like I say, also made me realise that if you can transfer your real life skills onto the game, it has to be well designed software. How's the family tournaments going? Are you still beating Robin at stuff, or has he just given up?
He's getting better. To be fair, he got a couple of thirds yesterday.
Seconds.
You were in the real one. You got a couple of thirds. You also got a couple of tenths. So it balances out, but he's getting there. The one final thing on sport that I wanted to do super quickly is something that I came across kind of accidentally yesterday on the NHS website on their kind of health A to Z. There was a page around fitness things, and it's routines, the kind of cardiovascular fitness and strength and stretching and all sorts of things. But actually, one of the ones that's on there, and it's all kind of fully guided, the whole session is on there. It's a half an hour session, is a chair based Pilates session for beginners. That's a kind of half an hour one. It's designed for people that have never done anything before. That either don't want to get on the floor, can't get on the floor. If you're like me, you can get on the floor, you just can't get off it again. Getting on the floor is easy, you just fall over. It's getting off it again that's the issue. There's a 30-minute kind of chair-based Pilates routine that you can kind of follow along with. It's absolutely free. And it's something that I kind of stumbled across almost, and I thought that'd be a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, I think it's a really good thing. I just should flag up at this point, if you go to the Join In From homepage on our website, www.together2012.org.uk, there's also a chair-based warm-up, which we do as we talked about with Folk in Motion. It's what we do at the beginning of every Folk in Motion session. That's always a good place to start before you move on to something else, because it's very, very gentle. It is absolutely designed to be inclusive of everybody, which Pilates may or may not be, but it's a really good idea to do that sort of basic warm up. And indeed, the Folk in Motion website, which I will put up, has got lots more information, which I think which is interesting beyond actually watching the dancing, although there's some videos there as well. Because as we were saying last week, I believe, paradance is actually recognised as a sport, isn't it? So
Yes.
it's one of those things where as soon as dancing becomes participatory, it suddenly becomes physical activity, and then it becomes sport anyway. So it's a sport art cross form, I guess, if there is such
Yeah.
a thing.
I just had a message from Blake that the Premier League has set up a new online game around maths and English to help kids with education while they're at home, which is cool. I hadn't seen anything about that. So
We'll check
thank
that
you for
out.
that, Blake. Yeah, we'll have to check that out and see what it's about.
Yeah, I'm on a bit of a mission to say we should all be helping young people out with their education. I got so sick of parents complaining. I'm so not complaining, apologising. I'm so sorry my child's in the Zoom. And you think, well, let's bring them in, let's say hello, have a chat. Please don't apologise if you've got children. All of us can make time to say hello. All of us can go and have a cup of tea if you need to deal with your child. So I can't understand why Mumsnet isn't pushing back against all these. Oh, here's a funny video of a child invading a meeting, and you're thinking, surely that child should be allowed to come in. Really. So you may not feel the same as a parent, Robin, but yeah, I just think it's a real shame we're kind of locking our kids in their rooms and then telling them off for interrupting it, and saying, instead of saying, here's somebody new, let's both enjoy 5 minutes of social activity. But I'm interrupting your gaming, Josh. Yeah.
No, that's fine. So a little bit on gaming. I know we mentioned last week around more kind of for everybody games and things that you can play. So you mentioned Little Big Planet, which is a PlayStation game. But actually, the first, when I was thinking about it after the show, the first collection of games that jumped to mind are the Lego games. So there's a company called Telltale Games that I think have made most of, if not all of them. I mean, they date that to like the 90s, but the kind of more recent console ones. And Lego have, as a company, have their own properties in games. So there's a kind of Lego City Undercover Police one. There's the one with ninjas and the whatever, all the different kind of Lego ones. And then there's like a Lego Minecraft as well that you can build Legos in.
So what platforms do they have them for?
Uh,
Because I'm
pretty
such
much
a
everything.
big Lego fan, and as you know, we got a PS4 last year, but haven't really found games we've particularly got into.
Pretty much every platform. Some of the earlier ones might not be available on the newer consoles. But actually, there's a lot of, or sorry, it's the other way around. Some of the newer games won't be available on the old platforms. But if you've got a PlayStation 4, there's a huge amount of kind of backwards compatibility stuff for really old games. You should be able to find them. But what they also have done, much like Lego sets have kind of licensing deals with Marvel and DC and Lord of the Rings and whatever. They also have Lego games for all of those franchises as well, and they're just really good fun. Sometimes they'll follow the story of the film. So like the Lord of the Rings one follows roughly the story of Lord of the Rings, and the Jurassic Park one does Jurassic Park. But then there's other ones, kind of some of the like Marvel and DC superhero ones that are entirely new stories written for the games. And they are, I guess, children's games essentially. But I've played loads of them, and they're just really, really good fun. And there's lots of jokes in there, I think, written probably for the parents of the people playing it. But if you're like me and you're a nerd and you play it anyway, there's and a lot of it, especially for the licensed ones, it relies on you having seen the films to kind of get some of the inside jokes and things. But yeah, I mean, I can't recommend the Lego. I mean, you've seen me play them or play kind of co-op with them with
I mean,
the younger Surgeoner.
I think what they bring is color and fun. There's you can be any number of different characters within it, so you're not just you, as it were. You can step between, so with the Batman one. The Batman one, there's like this character screen of about 50 characters, and you can,
it's more like 170, I think.
but you can literally play as any of them, and you switch in and out of them, and you run around, but they're just there's just very, very vibrant, and basically you're collecting Lego pieces as you go around, but then it adds different skills in to be able to do it.
I'm already sold. I don't even collect Lego.
Yeah, they're great fun. What I'm
Keen.
gonna sorry. What I'm gonna do is, for the highlights and links, is a link to a Wikipedia page that is the list of every. I mean, it starts in like 1990 something with like the one you can get for Windows 95. Probably wouldn't recommend that one. But it is a list of all of the games they've done, just because it's too many to kind of mention or do individually. And then you can kind of, if anyone is interested in buying them, you can find the one that's for the franchise you like, the Indiana Jones or Star Wars or whatever. So yeah, we'll do it that way, and then you can see the kind of full list of all of the different properties and franchises and things that have been Legoized.
And I mean, and it's so cleverly done, because the bits, although they move, and Lego essentially doesn't move apart from the mechanics sets, but so the characters move, but they still look the same. They haven't kind of, if you get a Lego person, it's got a little round head with the painted eyes and mouth on it. That's what they look like. But you suspend your disbelief. Your brain or the Gestalt fills in all those kind of missing bits and creates them as little Lego people that move around and jump in and out of Lego cars and
But yeah,
stuff.
I mean, everything in them is made from like actual Lego pieces. They haven't made something just for the game. In theory, if you were good enough at Lego, you could see it, go and buy the stuff, buy the pieces you need, and build it. I mean, I don't even know how to start on something like that, but in theory, you could.
I think that's very clever. I just want to say something very quickly for a minute about Colin Jackson, who's appearing on Ice. I really wanted just to sort of flag him up as somebody of interest because he's an international athlete. He's an elite athlete. He came out as gay in 2017 at the age of 50. And he also came out as having an eating disorder. Given that it's LGBT History Month, I think it's
Yeah,
worth just flagging
absolutely.
him up.
Well, that's kind of going back to, well, kind of slightly back to the theme of dance and the sports thing. But yeah, I was pleased to see Colin Jackson on that.
Yeah.
So on the gaming, the other thing that just struck me on the Lego was going back to when Julie's been talking about stop motion animation, because you can do some fantastic animation with Lego. And like Robin was saying, you don't have to keep changing all sorts of expressions and things. You can just literally move the Lego around. I had got one more thing on LGBT plus History Month, but I don't know if you finished gaming, Josh.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
So, LGBT plus History Month, which we are celebrating all month. I'm going to put the link straight up as we're in the highlights and links page as we're getting towards the end of the program. But I wanted to draw your attention to the fact there's a calendar of events. And obviously, some of them were originally scheduled to be real and haven't been up, or not real physical in a physical venue, and they haven't been updated. So, for example, Redbridge Library is due to do a film night tonight, which is free. I can't tell whether that's gone online or not, but there's some other wonderful stuff on tonight and also on tomorrow and through the month. So, check it out every day, because one of the great things about this is, almost uniquely, because we do hope to have more physical activities next year, you can pop into events all over the country because they're online, and most of them don't require you to be a member or living locally. So, yeah, there's just some fabulous events out there. Check out the calendar. And on Friday, of course, it's our dressing up to go out to stay in day, which we always say is based on Formal Fridays, which started in New Zealand, where during their first and very short in comparison lockdown, they dressed up as if to go out to the opera and then sat down and had their ordinary Friday tea at home. But I see from all the controversy that you have to wear a tie in Parliament in New Zealand, for example, and formal attire seems to be kind of incorporated into all sorts of things. So I'm going to see if I can find a tie and dress up to go out to something formally in New Zealand on Friday. We've also got Art Club with Tracy Surgeoner. We've got, well, the Together Morning Still Life session, which I, for my sins, will be leading this week. And of course, we have something for the weekend where we'll be recommending lots more things you can do for free online and offline. And as we said, we have challenged ourselves to learn to sign along to this song called Together, which fortunately is only 3 minutes long. At least it's not the long playing version. But was there anything else that any of you wanted to recommend or add in now, Julie, or did you sort of leap in during the Lego?
Post Lego, it was a post Lego leap in. But yeah, that I just it struck me on when I was watching him. This is a very versatile man, very strong man.
Well, at least he hasn't had an accident yet. I never know whether to watch Dancing on Ice or not,
No.
because they just seem to crash out on a really regular basis. Fortunately, to date, none of them have actually become para athletes as a result. And I mean, people think that's in bad taste, but I know for a fact the wheelchair rugby people just go around recruiting at bedsides when people have had dreadful rugby accidents. What do they do in wheelchair basketball, Robin?
Well, I mean, it, it certainly, whenever we see something happen, it's like, well, yeah, what sport are they going to do? They're going to make a good swimmer, So, it's not out of character for us to be thinking that way.
Yeah, I
Half
think
of them are in Paris sport.
this is what parasports and the LGBT plus community have in common. We recruit. And on that happy note, we will say goodbye for now. Stay home, stay creative, stay well, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Friday.
Bye.
Bye,
See you
guys.
Friday.